Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
All right.
How would you like to achieve your first million? And today we have Steven, the founder of I-20 Spirit. So Steven, tell us, what are the 5 steps to make your first million?
First, you have to create a vision and roadmap. You've got to know where you're going. Even if you don't follow it the whole way, that part doesn't matter, but you actually have to know kind of where you're going. So first thing is to write it down. You don't have to do a business plan. I'm not saying that, right? That's what a lot of the books and the professors will tell you. And you can end up wasting 2 years writing that plan and then end up throwing it in the trash, and we wasted a lot of time. That's not what I mean. But you can't also just go start something if you have no clue what you're doing. So the first step is to start figuring out what your plan is. So we call that a roadmap or your vision, right? So that first, what you're doing with that is you're trying to figure out what is it that you're going to sell. Is it a product, a market, a service, something, right? But you're going to have a segment where you're fitting into. We call that product market fit or service product fit, right? Service market fit. But that's the first thing, is you got to figure out kind of what it is that you want to do and why you want to do it, right? So that's where the roadmap part of this comes in. It's kind of looking forward. Hey, who needs what I'm doing and why do they need it, right? So that's how you kind of create your value proposition. Step 2 is that you're going to actually map out all of the barriers. What are the things that are going to be the pitfalls that get in your way from where you are today to where you're going, right? So step 1 is like typing it in, right? That's like putting it into the GPS. You get in your car, you put in your destination. You know where you're going, but you have no clue how you're going to get there. But what happens along the way? There's a stoplight, there's a car accident, a tornado comes in, right? There could be any number of reasons, and then you've got that rerouting, right? Recalculating, right? So what we call that is the learning process. Test, build, measure, learn, iterate, repeat that process, right? So now now we're going into kind of step 3. So again, step 1, create your vision, figure out what you're trying to do. Step 2, document and map out all of your barriers, all of the things that could cause you problems along the way. And then as you start that journey, step 3 is this build, measure, learn kind of loop. You're going to do that over and over and over again as you're creating your processes, figuring out what's working, what's not working, and then you're documenting that, okay? That's the first 3 steps. Now, step 4, this one is done in parallel your entire process. You have to create content. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're mass market, you're tech, you're real estate, you're in finance, you're in R&D. It does not matter what industry you're in or who you're selling to, B2B, B2G, B2C. You have to create content. And whether that's just taking pictures of you or your product or your prototype as you go, or just some things that you're learning, conferences that you're going to, people that you're meeting with, calls like this that you might be on, recording it, records that stuff along the way. That's for 2 reasons. 1, ultimately that content is going to be something that you can monetize. But secondly, that's how you're going to be documenting what you learn along the way. Okay, so that's step 4, is to create that the entire way along the process. Step 5 is how you plan to scale and go to market. And that whole piece is the actual, once you've actually built what you're going to build and you're ready to launch it, it's how do you launch it, how do you grow it, and how do you scale it. All of that is very similar to step 3. It's a build, measure, learn. You're testing stuff out, because first you're testing your product development. Then when you're ready to go to market, you're testing how to launch it into market. You're going to continually be getting a feedback loop. You're going to get your analytics. You're going to be getting your data. You're going to be measuring all of these different numbers, and it's going to tell you what to tweak, right? Turn this up a little bit, turn that down a little bit, what's working, what's not working. You can apply that to every facet of how you grow your business, whether it's scaling, partnering, vendor selection, a market approach, go-to-market strategy, even running ads and content and writing blogs and applying to host different things. Whatever you might need to do to grow and scale your business, all of that stuff can be kind of done the same way. So those would be the 5 steps that I would say is what you would want to follow to grow your first million. Doesn't guarantee it, and you've got a million different ways that you can fail along that path. But those are the things that you need to make sure that you're paying attention to in order to kind of what we say stack the deck, right? It's not a guarantee, but if you can turn what is normally a 5% success rate into a 6%, a 7%, right? Each one of those things, it gets you just a little bit more of an edge.
So Steven, tell us how you end up becoming an entrepreneur. What happened?
I've been an entrepreneur since the 3rd grade, I think.
3rd grade? Tell us your first business venture.
My very first business was in grade school. Yeah, I would go around and actually collect up. So, kids might be playing baseball or soccer or basketball, and somebody might have a glove, but no ball. And somebody might have a ball, but no bat, right? And all of these things. So I would go around to all the neighborhood kids and I would collect all this stuff. And then I would display it out on my yard. And then I would rent it back out to the other neighborhood kids for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, to play baseball. Yeah, because you need the bat, you need the ball, you need gloves, you need everything. But the catcher, you need a lot of stuff to play baseball, yeah?
The second part about that is it helped build the community, right? Because
Absolutely.
I lived in a neighborhood where it was large, like almost farmland. So we were kind of spread out. Each house was half an acre to a couple acres. So this helped bring the neighborhood together. Everybody meets each other, and we ended up playing a lot more sports and games and stuff. Because of that. But no, I've been starting businesses my whole life.
Yeah, but I want to know from the beginning of, like, for example, what was the reason? Your parents were entrepreneurs and you feel inspired, or basically you want to eat more candy and you were not allowed?
That's so good. That's so good. My parents were not entrepreneurs, but they were very hard workers. My mom was a 1st-generation immigrant. And my dad is an engineer by training. My mom a financial analyst. They're both very, very smart, educated people, and I think especially coming with that immigrant culture. My mom is Indian, so I'm half Indian, half American. But that culture that gets kind of sewn in, right? Of you got to work hard. There's no shortcuts. It's you got to follow the process. You've got to do it the right way. All of these things, it gets baked in. And I, even when I was a kid, when school would end for the summer, instead of me, just going home to sit on the couch and watch TV or go to the arcades or whatever, my dad would literally stop at the bookstore, and I would have to pick out 5 textbooks for the summer, and then he would assign me homework, and I would be doing that on the side, and everything was to try and like I said earlier, it's all about getting a slight edge compared to what everybody else is doing, right? So it's I like to use the term called force multiplier. I used to be in the military, and that's the term I borrowed from the Army. But it's what are those tools and tricks and processes and things that you can add to your daily life that will make you, instead of having a normal 100% human output, now you can have 120%, 130% with the same time, right? The same amount of time. It's like scaling your own life. It's adding scalability to who you are as a person.
Probably one of those books we're talking about entrepreneur, and this will give you the idea about
maybe they were
the stuff to Facebook, right?
But I think I always wanted to do something different, right? I didn't want to just, I haven't been an entrepreneur my whole life. I worked in the military, and then I spent 15, 20 years working in the tech sector. And, I've raised over $100 million for other people. And wow. I was like, why am I doing this? And then at the end of the day, it's not my business. I'm not the millionaire, the billionaire that's so if I have those skill sets, why not put those to work for myself? And I spent years, honing those skill sets, not only from being able to develop a product, but then being able to develop a business.
So tell us about your first business.
First actual business, right?
Yeah,
As an
first.
adult. Yeah.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I got out of the military, I got a job. This was 2008 time frame, 2009. So
Oh
we
my
were
God,
in the
credit crunch.
exactly. It was in the middle of one of and at this point recessions and global disruption is just becoming normal, right? Every 5 to 10 years there's something that happens that just creates some major phenomena. But at that time I was
It
getting
was
out of the
very bad,
military.
right? People
I'm
losing
sorry.
was very bad. People losing their homes and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know, but coming out of the military back then, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to be in the military any longer. I wanted to go into the business world, but specifically what industry, what aspect. I knew I had an engineering degree, so I had that technical background, but I also, I felt called to business. I wanted to be involved in that, but I didn't want to just be a salesperson because it is relatively easy to get a sales job, right? Almost anybody can at least get a shot in sales. It doesn't mean you're going to be good, right? Or have it long term, but most anybody can at least get a chance. Now, whether that's selling pizza, selling toilet paper, selling securities or
When it
tech,
comes
it
to
doesn't matter.
sales, there is always room for everybody. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Um, and so I got recruited to this like tech startup, and I was working there, and I ended up building that company, from zero to a $20 million a year company
Wow.
in the government space. And then
Wow.
our board said, we don't want to do government anymore. We want to go commercial. So I had to rebuild it to a $5 million a year commercial company.
Wow.
And that's when COVID hit. And at that point in time, I was kind of at this point where it was like, you know what, I need to go do my own thing. And I had already been there for 10, 12, 15 years, something like that. And in the meantime, I had been taking, first of all, I did well enough there that I convinced them to pay for my master's. So I went and got a master's degree in business. So now I had the technical undergrad, and then follow with the master's. And since I didn't have to pay for that because I convinced them to, and the only reason I did is because I was raising a lot of money for them, right? So at the end of the day, it's still about your value that you're providing. And if you want to get something, there's no cheat. You can't, there's no shortcut. I had to go do the work to then create the value so that then they would invest in me, and then I invest back in them, right? But in the meantime, I had been taking, every time I closed a big deal or I got a commission check or whatever, instead of going and spending that, right, or just throwing it somewhere, what I would do is I would go buy a house with it. Not a whole house. You can't. I wasn't getting $1 million commission checks, but I might get 20,000. I might get 30,000. I might get 15,000. I might get 40, and I would add those up.
Enough for the deposit, yeah.
Exactly. And so every time I was living somewhere, I would buy a house, and then I would put sweat equity into that house, right? I would renovate it. I would do my own stuff. I've done a lot of that kind of work. Being an engineer helps, right?
Oh yeah.
And then I would, instead of selling that house, what I would do is I would actually rent it out. So then I had somebody else living, paying my mortgage. I'm building equity. I'm building value. I'm learning business, right? I'm having to develop relationships. I'm having to all these things, right? And I did that until I had 4 or 5 houses. And then what I ended up doing is, you do that, and I'm not buying a house every year. It's every 3 or 4 years, right? And then I'm renting it out so that I'm only having to carry it for a couple of months. Well, guess what? After 10 or 15 years, the first one's paid off. And so now I sell that house, and I take the cash and I do a 1031 exchange. And instead of buying another house, I go buy a multi-unit house, right? And then a couple of years later, that second one is now paid off. And then I go do the same thing. And so then I ended up flipping all these houses, and now I own, I don't know, 7 or 8 multi-unit houses. So I went from 4 doors to now 12 doors. And then that is, so what I ended up doing then is,
a multi-unit house will give you better cash flow, right?
100%. And so what I did is I changed that periodically over the course of 3 or 4 years. Absolutely. From an equity growth model to a cash flow model, right? So now it's spitting off cash for me to live off of, that I quit my day job so that I can start my other 2 companies.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is how I think that, so we message you have there? My first business was in property. We managed to sell over 5 million. We were doing what we call it rent to rent. We were renting properties, renovating and renting back again. Yeah. And
Yep.
we did very well back in the day doing this. So we love properties. Yeah. And
Yeah.
but I think that the most important, a lot of people want they buy into the properties, right? They buy and say, "Oh, well, I'm gonna invest in this, and it's gonna go up in value." But I think that most important that goes in value is if it actually give you cash flow after you pay the mortgage, because we need money every month. We
Right.
eat every month, we pay bills every month, we live every month. So as long as you have a monthly cash flow that can cover your expenses and now you have something sustainable. Who cares if the house go up in price or not? Are you interested if your houses go up in price or not? Of course, if it goes in price is good,
Right.
but do you care? Not really, right? Because you have the cash flow.
It all depends, right? So I have some business like this business is all about cash flow because that's what I want. I want cash flow. But I have other businesses that are lottery tickets, right? And it's, are they going to give me cash flow? Not for years. Not
Yeah,
for years. But they may be worth 100 million someday, right? So it's
absolutely.
all about how you're setting yourself up, and you need a little bit of both. I think you need to have you're 100% right. You've got to have cash flow because you've got to pay bills. You've got to
A
pay
lot
bills,
of
and
people
not
miss
not only
that. A
that.
lot of people miss that, and especially in property, you see a lot of
Yeah.
people like multi-millionaires in equity, and they
Yeah.
can't even
But
go to
even,
the bank.
when you're building a business, how often when you're building a business does that business say, "Oh, I need $1 million next Tuesday," and then another million, 3 months later, and nothing in between? That's not how it works. Our businesses that you're building, they need $1,000 here, $100 there, 5,000 here. That's how you build. So having that, having that trickle is definitely helpful.
Definitely helpful. And then, so your first business, it was in property and tech?
Yep. Real estate. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So what you did, you develop a software?
No, this was actually the actual building. So I would buy a house and then I would live in it while I would be, because I was working full time and I was in my 20s, so this is one of those things where it was just evenings and weekends making improvements to the house. I would fix it, flip a kitchen. I would upgrade the bathroom. I would add in a backyard, put in a pool, add a gazebo, whatever it needed,
Wow,
whatever needed to
adding
be done.
value to the property, yeah?
Exactly, exactly. So I might put in 50 or 100K, over the course of anywhere between 1 and 7 years, and you never know. It just depends on what's going on. And sometimes I'd be in the house, I don't even know if I'm going to live in it, if I'm going to sell it, if I'm going to keep it forever or rent it. All I knew is I didn't want to be wasting money, paying rent instead of earning equity. Well, so
Absolutely.
somebody might say, well, guess that's more expensive. A mortgage costs way more than rent, blah, 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 right? Well, you have to make sacrifices along the way too. And so I got roommates. And so I'm having, 2 or 3
Mhm.
people live with me. I buy a 4 bedroom house. Yeah, it was really hard because you may have a 2,000, 3,000, month mortgage, whereas rent would have only been 5, 6, $700. Obviously, this was 15, 20 years ago, but that's the way I'm looking at it. So if I have 3 people, we all pay 5, 6, 700 in rent, and obviously I'm going to pay a little bit more because it's my mortgage and I'm getting more of the value. But that's a no brainer all day
Everybody was
long.
contributing. At the end of the day, guess what? The house eventually will pay off, right?
Exactly, exactly.
So tell us about your new ventures, Steven.
Yeah. So I have two companies right now. My main one that I am full time on is IV 20 Spirits, and this is a new vodka actually. So it's completely different world than the tech and the real estate stuff. And we're actually bridging two of the largest markets in the world, but they're also two of the most, let's say, discussion worthy industries, right? So alcohol being one of them, and we've combined alcohol with cannabis. So we actually have
Oh,
the yeah we have a vodka that is actually cannabis flavored. There's no cannabis in it. Okay, so it is 100% legal, federally legal. There's no THC, there's no CBD, nothing like that. Actually, let me grab a bottle real quick. I'll show
Please,
you.
yeah.
So this is our bottle right here. It is.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's actually shaped like a joint.
Wow. Ha! I love the branding, the design.
Yeah,
Wow.
So you can kind of smoke it. Yeah, exactly. But
Wow, the
it's still.
design is fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, we spent a lot of time. We spent 4 years in R&D on this, actually. So it's the only bottle like this in the world. We spent 2 years designing. Yeah, designing, developing, and patenting the bottle. And then we spent another 2 years designing the liquid that goes inside it. So we have a proprietary blend that we've developed of something called terpenes. And if you don't know what you are familiar with terpenes?
No.
Okay. So so terpenes are essentially, they're basically essential oils. So I know you know essential oils, right? And
yes,
or even like peppermint extract, almond extract. These oils that are very, very, very dense flavors. So terpenes are naturally occurring compounds that are all around us. They're in oranges, they're in grapefruits, they're in hops, in beer. They are. I mean, they're in everything. If you've ever had a seltzer water, those are flavored with terpenes. So they're all around us. We just have a proprietary blend that smells and tastes exactly like cannabis. And what we've done is we've infused that into the alcohol. So this now is the only vodka that actually has a cannabis smell anywhere. And so we're very, very excited about it. And we launched earlier this year. Yeah, we came up with the idea. It's my partner and I. So my partner designed the bottle, and then I developed the vodka and the terpenes.
Yeah. And then, Steven, what made you think that people will buy this?
Well, we did a lot of market research. Yeah, during the 4 years.
As an entrepreneur, you are, yeah?
Yeah, 4 years. So 4 years of development, we did a lot of back and forth soft launch iterations of the design same thing I was talking about earlier, right? That build, test, measure, learn loop. Like that's
you did a soft launch, yes?
Oh yeah. We did a soft launch at the largest cannabis conference. Had about 1,000 people taste test it, and based on about a 95%.
Amazing.
It was like 90, 95, 96%. Super positive. It was really, really amazing. We quit our jobs right after that and went full time.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So I mean, it was extremely good feedback.
And I think that you guys, drinks. We're talking about one of the most competitive things out there, and but if you make it, it's a home run, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot comes to branding, right?
It does.
I think one of your points was about creating content, yeah. And I think what you guys have there is very Instagram, very, very good for TikTok, very good for content creation to go viral and things like that. So you guys have a direct to consumer platform that people can actually purchase the things. How they can access the product, people?
Definitely, yeah. So you mentioned Instagram. We do a lot on Instagram.
Logo United States, right? Because there is no inside, so basically there is no federal law that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So yeah, we are 100% federally legal. We do sell online. So right now we are actually live in Florida. We're already in about 60 or 70 stores in Florida, and that's growing every week.
That's loads of stores.
Yep. Wow. Yeah. So that's just
real. I'm so happy.
Yeah. And then we have our first 4 pallets coming to California in 2 weeks. So we'll be opening up the California market for the end of this year, going into Q3, going into Q4. So perfect for the holidays. And then we're actually available online. We ship to 42 states directly now. So about 15-20% of our business is online so far, and we definitely want to see that growing because especially going into the holiday season, I think this is very, very gift worthy. But yeah, so that's the one business, and then business.
Hold on, I have a question for this one. I love this one. Yeah, hold on.
Sure.
About this one because who came with the idea of the design of the bottle? You know, a lot of things when it comes to, you know, you penetrating really tough market. I know as an entrepreneur, you did your research, you know what you're getting into. There are literally giants there,
Oh
but
yeah.
the only chance that you have there is to have a very good brand. Yeah. So who came with the idea of this? Show me the bottle again. Who came with the idea of the design of the bottle? This is just fantastic. Who had the brilliant idea? Was your
This
idea?
is my this is my business partner. His name is Ro Rustin.
Okay, tell him that Harry said that he's a genius. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
My goodness. Yeah. Very, very. I love it. Yeah. Because
So this started. He called me up during COVID. We were in the army together. He called me up during COVID, and he's like, "Hey, I got this kind of idea," and he had sketched it out, on a piece of paper, and he showed it to me. I was like, "Okay, that's kind of cool. What do you want to do with it?" And then he was like, "Maybe we can do something in liquor. I don't know." And we kind of tossed it back and forth. Next time we talked, he had gone to Hobby Lobby and gotten a little styrofoam and kind of carved it up. He's like, "It'll look sort of like this, and we'll paint it and that sort of thing." And then, that started a 2-year process where we had to go find, glass
yeah,
manufacturers.
probably this was not the first version of the
No,
bottle. Yeah,
definitely not.
you have gone
Definitely not.
through
Yeah,
loads of them until
yeah.
but I think that's gonna do a lot of good, this design.
Thank you.
So intense for the brand, intense for creating the content, and now it's all about to how creative can we building that community, building that following in
Yep,
Instagram, in TikTok. Yeah, I think the thing for TikTok is brilliant, right? It's
yep,
so it's all about now how create that community, that direct to
yep.
consumer community in a very competitive market. But you guys have an advantage, which
Yeah,
is um is very shareable, right?
yeah,
Because of
yep.
the design, because of the product itself, because if it's new, is that it has an innovation. Yeah. So
And
uh
so our name, the IV20, IV is the Roman numeral for 4. So the brand is actually about 420. And if you're not familiar with 420, that for the number 420 is synonymous with cannabis culture. So
ah
that's our website, drinkiv20.com. And same
mhm.
thing with all of our social handles, drinkiv20. So everything's all about that
About
branding,
the
the community.
branding, that
It's all about the
absolutely.
cannabis community and culture. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. It's about to building that brand about that community and you have you actually innovate something really really amazing, right? It's all about now, trying to get as much market share as possible. Yeah, uh,
Exactly right.
yeah,
It's about just getting the word out there, get as many people to know as possible so they can go give it a shot.
yeah. And at the end of the day, yeah, maybe the big boys they like it and they might want to do their own version, but still, you have your proprietary thing and you guys were the first, so now it's
Yeah.
time to run. Yeah, as
And,
much
and,
as
and
market.
most likely, instead of trying to replicate it, they'll just probably buy us and,
Yeah, absolutely easier.
it'd be easier.
I
Yeah.
get
Cause
rid of you
for
guys.
us,
Yeah.
yeah, well, for us, it's very difficult to go. We can't go nationwide to start with, right? We actually have to go state by state. We actually have to open up one
Absolutely.
state, get all the licenses, invest in that state, promote all that kind of stuff. So realistically, we'll probably never go nationwide on our own, right? We will have already been acquired or partnered or
I
got,
saw, yeah.
something will have happened by, or at least one of the nationwide wholesalers will have picked us up and then spread us out. It'll go that way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just about getting the traction as much as you can, right? So which state, guys, you think that would be the easiest to penetrate?
Which
Which
state?
states? Yeah. You're gonna
So
pick two or three,
California.
yeah?
Yeah. So we're in Florida right now. The main reason we have Florida is
My dad
because,
lives in Miami. Maybe I find the voters in Miami.
do you?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
awesome, awesome. So right now we're in Orlando, Tampa, and then Jacksonville into the Panhandle. So because and logistically, it's because we produce outside of Tampa, so it just makes it really really easy for
Easy.
us, in that area. And then the next market is California because of the cannabis
Culture.
connection, right? That's the culture. That's where we want to be. And then from then, if you can do Florida and California, you can do anywhere in the country.
You're already in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Now tell me about your second business.
Yeah, so the second business is very, very early stage. This is leveraging some of the scientific and engineering background that I have, and what we're doing there is it's a company called Full Spectrum Imaging, and what we've done is we've actually it's a spin out from a government incubator, and what we've done is we've actually licensed technology from the Department of Homeland Security, and so this is
Wow,
imagine
that's
a
very good.
very
Sounds very
and
good.
that, yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're familiar with like an X-ray machine or a CT machine that would be in a doctor's office. You know, you get
Yeah.
your lung scan, your head scan, whatever. So those the way those machines work is that it transmits energy through an object. Could be the bottle, right? Transmits through the bottle, and then you end up with an X-ray image that is either black and white, or if it has color, it's because there's the computer code has added some color to it with some guesses on based on different AI and everything. And what we have is a filter, which is essentially like as thin as a sheet of paper, but instead of it being paper, it's very, very thin foil, like aluminum foil, but it's not just aluminum. It might be aluminum, it might be a little bit of it's gold, some of it's tin, palladium, copper, whatever. It's all these different precious metals. And what that allows us to do is it allows us when now that power comes through and it gets put on the detector panel, which is where you normally would see your image, we now have actually measured that with a bunch of different filters.
Wow.
So what that allows us to do is reconstruct that image, and now instead of it being black and white, we can actually make it full color. And so that is actually where each color is a different part of the energy spectrum. So now you can actually tune up and down the dial and get clarity on things that would have been invisible otherwise. So like let's say you had a cancerous tumor, but it was behind a bone, you wouldn't be able to see that
I get
previously
that.
because the bone is blocking the view.
Yeah.
Now with that filter, we can make the bone invisible temporarily and see through it.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the power of the technology. So, but this is very, very early stage. We're in R&D. What we're trying to do right now is build the first prototype and see if it'll actually work or not, right? And if it does work, then we'll take it out to the X-ray and the CT manufacturers and license it to them to put into those machines.
Let's talk a little bit about these two because I'm an engineer. I also I got
Okay.
a chemical engineer, right? And some people say, why what engineers have to do with entrepreneurship? And I was reflecting in this question for a while, and I remember that when we go to university, the first word that we hear is problem. Yeah. So it could be mathematical problem, could be physical problem, chemistry problem, but this is the first word that we hear problem. And we stay 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, literally solving problems. They are not real
Right.
problems. They are theoretical problems, mathematical problems, physical problems. But at the end of the day, we develop a capacity to solve problems. Our brain somehow is is trained to solve problems. And guess what? When you are in business, what the first word that you hear? Problem.
Right.
And this is all you do all the time. So solving problems. So that's why engineers will love to be entrepreneurs, and I can see your passion, right? And I think those companies that you're creating right now is actually solving problem
Yep.
that are out there that nobody else has solved it. Yeah.
Right.
So, but also you have something very important, which is that that you've been in the military. So, do you think that the discipline or some of the skills that you learned there have helped you in your life as an entrepreneur?
Oh, of course. Oh, definitely. There's no doubt. I mean, I think putting the
Leadership, for example, what are the few things that you learn in the military that actually have make you a very solid entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I think the big things are, I went in as an officer because I did college first. And so it was one of those situations where we were already in war when I graduated school.
Wow.
And so I knew right away I was going to go to Iraq and be deployed. And so it just changes things. You know, you're taking things a lot more seriously. And unlike everybody else, when they graduate college, they go in and they get a job. And realistically, that first few months or maybe year, you're probably not working that hard. You know, you're in training, you know, you're doing a lot of happy hours, that kind of thing.
And there you
Whereas
were
we went,
wasting your life.
well, we and not just that, but it was 16-hour days, 7 days a week for a year
Because
without a break.
you cannot have a break, no?
No. And so it's very
If
intense.
you rest,
Very,
someone might die, right?
exactly. Well, you know, the responsibilities are very intense, and at the
Especially you're
time,
official, right?
well, I'm only 20, I'm only 22 at the time, 23, but I've got a couple hundred people that report to me, and I'm
Wow.
responsible for
Oh my God.
thousands of gallons of fuel and an entire area of operation where we're doing hundreds of convoys, moving thousands of pounds of equipment and supporting all of these areas that are, you know, dispersed. And it's just, it's a very, you know, it's a very, very large amount of responsibility. And I think that that's what prepares you, you know, like you're essentially already running a business at 22. Like I have hundreds of employees. I've got several $1 million of accountability that I have to keep track of every single day, that I have to report on to my general, who's like, you know, the board, right? It's just all of those skills are already there. And I was a logistics officer. Logistics is supply chain management. Like I was running an entire warehouse for a battle, like for Iraq, I like probably 20% of everything that was being used, you know, in the actual operation was running through one of my areas. And so it's a, when you talk about the scale of, you know, the trillions of dollars of assets that were used over that period of time, it's pretty significant. And once you've done that, like business isn't very scary, you know.
So which message do you have for entrepreneurs that say, oh, I'm tired, I need the day off, I only work Monday to Friday, I don't want to work in the weekends, this is too hard? Which message do you have for these entrepreneurs?
They should go get a job.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, no. Here's the life of an entrepreneur. You're responsible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you know, 365 days a year. You're like working anytime that you're not sleeping. And that's really all there is to it, right? Like there's nobody else. Like the buck stops with you. If a customer's in trouble, it's you. There is nobody else. And if you don't have the mindset for that, that's okay. Like that is okay. You're part of 95% of people. Like we need people like you. We need good employees. But it's a thankless job where you're most likely going to fail, right? It's a 95% failure rate. And even if you're successful, you may not be making as much as you were as an employee. You know, I mean, the ones who become, you know, multi-millionaires and billionaires and have the jets and all, like that is the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. You're not, if you're listening to this podcast, you're not that, right? Like just to be honest, right? It just, you're not. So that doesn't mean you won't be someday, but you're not right now. And so you need to live in reality, which is, it is a shitload of work. But that's the fun part too. To me, it's the building, right? It's you're creating
excitement
something that nobody else could. And that's it. It's you have that. It's like a fiduciary responsibility to your baby to finish it, to give it its best chance success. You're either wired that way or you're not.
Yeah, and let's face it, when it works, it's amazing. Yeah, when it works, it's amazing because at the end of the day, Steven, you're receiving all this cash flow, right? And you're very passionate about this company. But you know, if you decide tomorrow to go on holiday for 3 months to Thailand, I don't think that no one can tell you otherwise.
No,
Actually, no one
no.
will have full control.
And how many
of your
businesses
life.
do you know that did something like that, and when they came back, there's not a business anymore?
Yeah.
You know, because like it's like a child on life support. If you take 2-3 weeks off, it may not be there when you come back. You
Yeah.
know,
That,
not once it's already cash flowing millions,
exactly.
but when you're at that point where you haven't even
Oh
launched yet,
yeah.
or you're just trying to get out there.
Yeah. For me, my one at the beginning too, it was 4 years without stopping. Like I
Yeah,
remember waking up with the laptop on my lap. I'm thinking, what this computer is doing in my lap? And remember, oh, because I was working the evening, I fall asleep.
yeah,
And it was 4 years like that, right? But guess what? In the end, after everything was built and I was not needed in my office anymore,
yeah,
the whole thing was running autopilot, and it's beautiful. All this work actually pays off, right? I think that when you started to invest in these houses, you work really hard and you put a lot of
yeah.
input in this property, and you invest and you share your flats and you make a lot of effort. But guess what? Now you own that house. And now
Right,
whoever is paying you rent is cash flow for you. This is your pension. Yeah. I don't think
right,
that any government or anything can give you a better pension that you what you give it yourself. That you can
right,
you're working and you have those business because you're passionate about and because you want to make a difference and you want to solve the problem. But let's face it, you working because you want to, not because you have to at this stage
right,
of life. And
right.
this is the beauty as an entrepreneur, right? We never stop. I remember the first the first time, when you start the business, I want to make $1 million, I want to make $1 million. Also, guess what? You make $1 million and and after two
And the
days,
thing is,
it's like
you, a
you
million's nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
You're like, back to work. What's the
I can tell you when I realized I had made a that or my my net worth or whatever was the day that the first time that I realized that was literally because I was trying to get a loan for another house and I was adding up
and
all
you
my
need to
assets.
add over.
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit, hey, congrats to me,
Yeah.
but it didn't feel like it, you
Yeah.
know.
Helping other people create something amazing like you're doing with these drinks, make a bit different to society, creating something cool. I think that the drinks is something really, really cool, really innovative, really is fun, is clever, is cool.
Yeah,
And I think this is where the fun is, right?
yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
and
The fun is the creation
yeah,
and seeing.
and keep your life, is and I get it's not for everybody, and also a creator, yeah. Even Walt Disney was a creator, yeah. So I think that if you hear about his story, he was totally bankrupt, is about to lose all his money and everything, and then he drew Mickey Mouse, and the rest is story. So the creator never stopped creating, right? So
Yeah,
we hire in our company, we check the people, and they say we see the background, and if we see creator, we say no, we don't need more creator in this company.
so
We
you,
mean I need doers. I need doers in
funny.
the company, no creator. Creator we means enough. So sometimes you have to balance this, but entrepreneurs they always try to create something to solve a problem. This is how we are wired. This is how we have fun. This is how we live our lives. But when they
Yep.
pay off, when it works, the payoff is beautiful because you have this freedom that you
Yeah.
actually look the energy, look how happy you are. You're working in something that you're passionate about, and you're working because you actually want to, not because you have to. It's very painful, very hard to
Yeah.
wake up every day and do something that you don't like to do because you have to you have to pay your bills, and this is something that you have the privilege that you pick the company that you want, you pick the people that you want to hang out,
Yeah.
and this is beautiful. I think that I'm on the stage in my life that I work with clients that I like, with people that I like. You choose how you want to live your life, and it's completely different ball game that actually that
Right.
things that you don't like because you have to pay the bill. So we do work more than anybody else. We try to solve this problem, but eventually the payoff is gonna come sooner or later, and
Right.
it's beautiful and it tastes beautiful, right?
Yep.
It's
Exactly.
fantastic.
It's
Like your drink.
it reminds me of a story my mom told me. She went when she was in college. She went to Portland State in Oregon, Portland State, and she was with her best friend. They were having lunch one day, and Phil Knight, the owner of Nike, comes in.
Wow.
And this is in the '70s. This is before Nike was Nike.
Wow.
And he was in the lunchroom asking around for people's, basically just doing a live like focus group to get feedback on, guess what?
Did you?
What's that?
What? Really? Wow.
That's how they were trying to figure out what their logo was going to be.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just say that to say everybody starts somewhere, and nobody starts at the top. It doesn't. You're always out there trying to figure it out, asking people, getting feedback, and it starts. That's where it starts. It just starts at the bottom.
So thank you so much, Steven. Definitely, this has been a very inspiring podcast, right? I think that one thing that we can share with people, right? But one out of five entrepreneurs that I interview in this podcast, they are either tech entrepreneurs or property entrepreneurs. So I think that property and tech are a very good way to create wealth, right? It's it's
For sure.
statistics. Is the statistics? No, is what we find out. But at the end of the day, with the right strategy, I think that properties. I think that the reason of why property is so good vehicle for people to make money and to generate wealth for themselves is because I think it's easy to understand. People know what is a house because we all live in a house. We can rent the house. So we all pay rent. So I think that it's a vehicle that is easy to understand. Also a high ticket vehicle. So that's why we have so many people that become property entrepreneurs. Yeah. Tech is a little bit more difficult. Tech is a little bit more however, it's more risks in my opinion, more risks involved
For sure.
in tech than in property.
Very much.
In property, if you get it wrong and you get a big hit, but you can easily get back on so I think that
and even in properties, if you get it wrong, the most you're ever going to lose is 30, 40, 50K.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And then when
in
you
tech,
buy, you're not gonna make the mistake.
Yeah. In tech, you could lose 10 million.
Oh, absolutely. Tell me about it. Yeah, you have to be very, very, very careful. But then, so I think that and let's face it, all the multimillionaires that we interview in these podcasts, most of them they have properties, regardless that it's not the main business or not. They always have a vertical in property where they develop or they invest in property in somehow. So
I would think that there's probably more millionaires from real estate in this country than anything.
let me tell you something, about property. Property, it was not my passion, right? But allow me to live my dream. And I think that maybe similar situation happened to you. I think that I started in property because a friend told me, look, you can make shit lot of money doing property. And I said, well, wow, let's if you can make money out of this, I want to do it, right? And I was passionate about the property. I like it, right? There were few things that, when we have in my 170 tenants. So it was a big operation going on, and become a South because again you're responsible for all these people 24/7. Exactly what you spoke about. So you are 24/7 responsible for everybody, and you never rest. And however, this allowed me to live my passion, to find what I really allow me to create. Now I do corporate training. I help business to grow. I speak around the world. I help a lot of people, to grow the business and to inspire them. This podcast is one of the things that we're doing to empower people, which is something that I'm passionate about. This is what I love. It's like your dreams of your companies for you. This is something that you're really passionate about. So I think that property also can be a very good vehicle if you're an entrepreneur out there to create the foundation so you can actually find your dream or you can find your passion, but you can diminish your risk because if Steven make a mistake or the business take a little bit longer, right? He already designed a financial a cushion or a financial backup that will keep him alive, eating and sleeping and paying the thing. And I think
Right.
this is a good way that if you started to all the listeners starting to be in business, I think that the roadmap that Steven have taken is brilliant because it will allow you, if you notice that after all, like me, passionate 100% about property, well, you know what? You have a safe place to start your
Right.
passion. Yeah, it's the same thing like my girlfriend. She owns a book publishing company, and she's always telling people, look, write first the book that's gonna give you money, and then you write your passion book after. Don't worry about that one. Let's focus on this one that's gonna give you money.
Yeah.
And this. So thank you so much, Steven. That's been amazing. Yeah, well done. And
Absolutely. Thank you.
very inspiring, actually. And for all of you listening to this podcast, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable, how brave entrepreneurs like Steven break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.